Hi everyone, Dave here. Today I want to talk about another aspect of build versus buy, which is cost, and an area that is a little bit interesting in how it can actually be difficult to understand what you're spending when you're using some of these building tools. I was working on a project this weekend, spent the better part of a day on something, and halfway through I was worried about how much I was spending on getting this done, and so I tried to try to figure it out. And this felt a lot like the going to the doctor's office where you're getting something done, but you're not quite sure what it's gonna cost you until you're out of there and you get a bill later on. And so it's complicated, right? There's tokens used, there's memory, there's what you're pushing up and pulling down, and so a few factors there. And even the models are not always able to give you a really clear understanding of what you've spent. And it ended up being an exercise to try to get a ballpark of what I was spending, and it made me think about am I using the right tool or the right level of effort, the right model, all of that for a given problem. And maybe some problems aren't worth um, you know going so many iterations deep on it. Getting that first pass maybe is good enough, as opposed to somewhere what really want to get a very refined, clean answer, and understanding that. And so that is something that people should consider on when building. I think, what is that cost, to answer the question? What is the recurring cost if this is going to be a tool that's going to be ongoing? And then for the organization running this, setting those limits on token usage and spend, and trying to make ways where the users can understand before they start to head down a path, what is this project you're going to work on ultimately going to cost, right? Because you don't want to spend $40 on a $2 question, so to speak. If someone, maybe there's a different way to do it. So token usage consideration, definitely an aspect. And I think this is an area where it can be a lot more difficult for the builders within companies to get a handle on it versus the vendor side, where token usage and optimization is a real key component of the business. We're really incentivized to make sure we're being efficient with spend because it drives the core economics of our business. Therefore, there's always this real push to get to better levels of service with equal or lesser per transaction economics. And this it's a challenge, right? And doing that well while keeping the service getting better and better. It's a core part of the business. So just something to think about: build versus buy. What are the costs? And try to think about what those are before embarking on a project.